everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be doing another historical cooking recipe today. Last week I did apple tansy, so check that video out if you haven't already. Today I'm going to be doing something called a fool. It's a custard or a cream based dish that is with stewed fruit. It's actually a dish that we still get today, but it actually originated many hundreds of years ago. You can pretty much find recipes from like 17th, 18th, 19th century pretty easy just by looking on the internet. So, you know, feel free to check those out as well. But some people think that maybe it originated back to the 14th century. I am going to be trying very traditionally a gooseberry fool. The recipe I'm using is from 1625 and it's from a book called Court Cookery. So again, feel free to have a look at that, you can find it online. Gooseberries are something I had all the time as a child. They used to grow in our garden. They're actually native to the UK, but I think they've sort of fallen out of fashion. People don't really cook with them anymore. I've never seen them in a supermarket. Let me know if you have. You know, people tend to use strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, things like that now, but gooseberries, from what I can remember from having them as a child, are really delicious. So I'm really excited to do this recipe because I haven't tried it. I haven't tried gooseberries since I was a child. So here's the actual recipe from the Court Cookery book. You can see that the quantities are pretty big, a quart of gooseberries. So from what I can tell, a quart is actually a volume measurement as opposed to actually weighing something. So a quart of fruit can weigh actually different amounts depending on what fruit you're weighing, but also of course depending on how big the berries are. From what I can tell, a quart is about £1.5 to £2 worth of fruit. I'm actually going to be reducing this recipe though, because you know 3 pints of cream is an awful lot and I'm only making this for 2 people. So I am going to be adapting the recipe, the quantities of it, to this. So you can see I'm going to be using a pound of gooseberries, half a pint of cream, 3 eggs and a pinch of nutmeg. And first thing we need to do is prepare our gooseberries and then cook them in some water. So here we go. So these are the gooseberries. You can tell that, see, they're really unusual looking. Their skin is really translucent and you get this kind of vein appearance. You can get red ones and green ones. These are actually all called red gooseberries, even though some of them have more of a greenish appearance. Red gooseberries are sweeter, but they are actually different varieties of gooseberries, red and green. You can still cook desserts with green gooseberries, but if you can get hold of red ones, then you know your dish will just be that much sweeter. So what we're going to do is just top and tail the gooseberries and cut these stalks off. I'd suggest using a serrated knife because once you cut one side of the gooseberry, the other side becomes really difficult to cut without just squishing all of the gooseberry innards out, because they're pretty squishy. If I show you, yeah, they're pretty squishy. All those delicious, but all that stuff in there, that's the yummy sweet goodness, so you want to keep all of that. So do this to all of your gooseberries and then put them in a pan. Okay, so there's our gooseberries in there, looking really rather delicious. So next I'm going to add some water in. The recipe says just to scald them until tender, which in my translation to modern day language means stew them until they're tender. So I'm going to add some water in, just enough. Don't worry about adding sugar in at this point because we're going to be adding sugar and cream. So that should probably be enough water in there. You don't want too much. You don't want to water down the fruit, just so you can see how much is in there. Yeah, get that on a medium heat and just let it boil for about 15 minutes. So my gooseberries have been simmering for about 15 minutes and I think they're ready. They are nicely soft and they smell amazing. All the sweet smell has come out. Next, the recipe says to put them into a sieve and using the back of a spoon, push through to make a puree. Okay, so I've pureed my gooseberries and the puree is sat to the side just cooling. Next, the recipe says to take your cream, in my case I'm using half a pint, your eggs, in my case 3 eggs, and put them in a pan together. Add a little bit of nutmeg and then put it on the stove, and it says just stir it until it thickens. So we're making a kind of a custard, not the traditional way I would make a custard, but I think it's going to come out like a custard. One thing that I didn't put on the ingredients list, because I've just noticed it, but it's really vague, it says to add sugar at this stage, but it doesn't say how much, it just says sweeten to your palate. So I guess it's just allowing for people who have more of a sweet tooth. I'm going to try putting 1 teaspoon in because there is quite a lot of cream in it. So I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of sugar, and then at the end, if it's not sweet enough, I'll just add some more. So as I said, in here I've got my half a pint of cream, 3 eggs, I did 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg and 1 teaspoon of sugar. And then it says literally just keep stirring it until it thickens. I mean, it's pretty thick already because of 3 eggs and the double cream, but I guess we're going to just go for something much thicker. Also, the gooseberry puree is quite runny, so I guess that will loosen it up. Okay, so I've been cooking this now for about 5 minutes. I've got it on quite a low heat because I really don't want the eggs to curdle. So I'm just doing it gradually and slowly, and hopefully it'll get there soon. I'll let you know how long it takes to thicken. So I've been stirring this now for about 15 minutes, and it has taken an age to thicken, but it's there, I think. If I put a spoon in, you'll see just how thick it is. So I'm going to go with that. Next I'm going to pour it into a glass dish and leave it to cool. Okay, so the custard mix is out of the fridge, and you can see it's not quite as thick as I was hoping, but it is really thick and sumptuous and actually just looks gorgeous. So next I'm going to take the gooseberry puree and fold it in. So just put the whole thing in. And just really gently fold the puree around the custard mix. Not enough that it completely incorporates, but just so you've got some swirls. So here I go with my first try of a 1625 gooseberry fool, and my first try of gooseberries since I was a child. That is so yummy. It's not as sweet as I was expecting. I think maybe I would have put more sugar in had I known. I put 2 teaspoons of sugar in the end, but I think actually it could have done with 3 or maybe even 4 if you're quite a sweet tooth. But the texture of it is so creamy, and with the tartness of the gooseberries, it's just perfect. They definitely had this right in the 17th century. So give it a go. It is really delicious, and actually I think it would be really nice made into an ice cream. So yeah, ice cream recipe there as well. So yeah, join me next time for another historical cooking recipe. Next time I'm going to be doing a 15th century egg wine. So tune in. Bye!